Greetings and salutations, and this is a bit of a spin on the Hardcore One Talent Challenge. Now, it is going to be hardcore, and it is going to be one talent. However, if you noticed, right early in the beginning of the game, let me hit enter here. It is in single player. Game difficulty set to 8, which means the game now functions as if there were 8 players in the game, as if regular hardcore wasn't hard enough. And as you can see, I have nothing. This is Reign of the Warlock, Amazon. I figured I've tried Amazon before with the one talent challenge, and I already know what one talent I'm going with. And it is Magic Arrow. But it's players 8, which means everything is tougher. A lot tougher. Because people don't realize exactly how much stronger Players 8 actually is. They just assume, oh, well, you get more experience. True, you do. You get more experience. But the mobs also hit harder. They have a lot more life. As you can see. And I named the Amazon One Shot because, well, to be fair, that's what she's going to have, is one shot. Basically from beginning to end, she's going to have Magic Arrow, and then, potentially, yep, I'm going to get as high of that as I can, and then I'm going to branch off probably into Dodge and Avoid for the survivability. Nightmare and Hell, respectively. Which means I have to survive normal. Plus side is I don't need Mana Steel. The downside is, of course, it'll take longer to kill mobs in the beginning. And I have to get to, like, level 12 before Magic Arrow becomes usable constantly. Because they're just... It has a mana requirement until... till about 12. Magic Arrow. Now, I know that this isn't the most thrilling of things. I get that. I totally get that. But it is challenging. And I do like challenge, right? Like genuine challenge. Not like gimmicky challenge or anything like that. So with this genuine challenge that I often, give myself, I usually hear things like, people, not necessarily people in the comments. I wish they would comment, but they don't. But people I have to actually talk to say, like, why do you do stuff like this? Why do you play hardcore and, one talent? Why not just one or the other? And it's simply because it's just a harder way to play the game. Originally, it started out as something completely different. Well, I'm gonna open my door so I can get some more cold air in here. Because it's 73 in here. It's getting a little warm for me. There's cooler air out in the hallway, and it's just getting a little warm for me in here. It's also getting a little warm for my PC as it's ramping up, throttling up the fans, and then spooling back down after it cools. So I figured, be kind to it, be kind to myself. Originally, I started the whole one talent challenge on hardcore to see if it was possible to beat the game using only one attack per difficulty. And I found out that it is indeed. Like, a lot of classes can do that. Like, I think there's a few restrictions, just because they don't scale as well. And as such, I don't know, they're just harder to deal with. But that's my personal findings. And of course, everybody's personal findings are going to be different. Like, Sorceress is one of the hardest ones to deal with. I'm gonna have to port back to town in a real quick hurry. Now, the other thing is I would potentially have to make the edge bow yet again. Because if I don't make the edge bow, I'm gonna be in pretty dire straits. Actually, no, wait. There's another bow I could make. It's another rune word. Not right now, because I don't have the runes. But it's called Zephyr. I think Zephyr's better than what I have.
Hello.
Let's see what we got. 10 attack rating and light radius? I'll take it. Yeah, we're gonna pop these over to weapon 2. As much as I like javelins, I want to get a bow. So I kind of want to already head down that bow line real quick.
Not here.
Right now she's just running around with fists. She's just kind of looking at people like, I'm gonna punch you. Well, yeah. 28 dexterity. Alright.
Good day.
And eventually I won't need arrows anymore, because Magic Arrow doesn't consume ammunition, so... Joyous joys. It is one of the most joyous times to not be able to be consuming ammunition ad nauseum. Really is good. Magic Arrow is just so awesome. I mean, it hits for a percentage of damage on your bow. 9% of physical damage to magic damage, and gives attack rating, and then gives plus damage. Just raw magic damage. And there's only like 3 mobs in the game, 2 or 3 mobs in the game, they're immune to magic. And you won't run into them in normal areas, so... It's literally... a free... It's pretty much a free ride. Assuming you have enough life and you don't die a horrible death, it's pretty easy.
I hear foul creatures about.
I'm also looking forward to, and it's in a month or so. I'm looking forward to Pokemon Champions so much. People have no idea. Because now being told there is a standardized Pokemon game that has all things. So I can use Mega Evolutions. I'm sorry. This has just gone banana land right now. It's crazy. And I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. And it's something that, honestly, Nintendo, I can't even say Nintendo, sorry, Game Freak should have done ages ago. Game Freak should have said, you know what, we need a standardized format, and when we have the standardized format, it's got to be this, 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 and this. And they should have just done it outright and said, there you go, there it is, deal with it. And then just had like a really, like smug looking dude. With his arms crossed, like, just deal with it, Wait a minute, that's a short bow. That might be a good one. Nope. One socket. That's kind of poo too, but I'm gonna take that club. Ooh, wait, is that a two-socketed quilted? Ooh. Delve? Tella? Nah, the standardized format for Pokemon should have been a thing ages ago. 100% should have been a thing ages ago. And the fact that it wasn't is just beyond me. Like, they had the technology, they had the ability to do it. As soon as they saw, like, what's the one that people play online? Pokemon... It's on the website. Pokemon Showdown. The moment Pokemon Showdown became a thing, Nintendo, obviously they're not litigating the website, which why not? You litigate everything else, Nintendo. But you won't litigate this website. At any rate, I'm not advocating for Nintendo's litigious ways. I'm just saying why one thing and not another, effectively. In either way, they got really uppity about one thing, but not another. It's just kind of weird. In the meantime, these people have just gone and created effectively a standardized metagame website, which for most people was exactly what everybody wanted. It took Game Freak years to come up with the same exact thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Why? Why did it take you so long? And it's like, apparently they just didn't want money, I guess. Believe me, I thought it was weird too. I know it's such thrilling gameplay watching just Magic Arrow being shot and regular arrows being shot into zombies. I'm trying to think of something esoteric to say, but it has been a very long day. My brain is absolutely fried. I woke up at like 10 o'clock this morning. As you can see up there in the corner, it is 1:50 in the morning. I woke up at 10 o'clock this morning. Had to do grocery shopping. Then had to go shopping, or not shopping, sorry. Had to go grocery shopping first. Then had to turn around, come back, cook or grill meat for my sister. And had to, had to have the family around and everything like that. Had to be dealing with my nephew always wanting me to play Hearthstone or wanting me to play other games all the time, and it's like, I get it. It's like, you know, I'm not against it, but it's like I'm trying to be grilling meats on a charcoal grill. I'm trying to, you know, make sure that I do some reflexology pressure points on my sister's feet to help her back because she strained her back. Stuff like that. And it's like, I'm busy. Like, I was busy all day today. I felt like I was a cat trying to bury a turd on a tin roof. It was busy. However, at the end of the day, it's like, you know, I told my mom, I said, yeah, I still have to go record. And she's like, really? I said, yeah, I do. I said, I don't have a video for tomorrow. I said, I'm gonna do 2 videos, and then I'm gonna call it. I already did 1. This is the 2nd. And I kind of want to I would love to do a 3rd, but I don't think I've got the time and the wherewithal mentally to do it. Because I don't know what I was gonna do. There's a lot of things I'd like to do. A lot of games I'd like to play, like Crimson Dawn, is it Crimson Dawn? It's Crimson something. Looks kind of fun, right? Crimson something or other. It looks fun. I haven't really, you know, looked too heavily into it, but it looks enjoyable. So I've been eyeballing that one. I've been kind of eyeballing, you know, Slay the Spire 2, but I'm not sure on either of those. Like, I'm okay at both of them. Like, at Slay the Spire and everything, I'm okay with it, and I'm okay at it. I could be better. And I know that Slay the Spire 2 is different, and there's new characters, so I'm just trying to, kind of hemming and hawing, trying to figure it out. No, I want those javelins. And I want them sold. For those, real quick, I do want to say this. For those unaware of my one talent challenge rules, I am not allowed to respec. I am not allowed to... Oops. I am not allowed to respec at all. I'm not allowed to go deeper than I currently am. So, like, I'm only allowed to take the talents one per difficulty of what I can easily get to, what's easily accessible from the start of the game. So here, there, and that's it. That's it. Which is why I went with Magic Arrow. Now, when I get to Nightmare, I can pick up Multiple Shot because it's linked, right? Or I can pick up Cold Arrow or Fire Arrow, Critical Strike, or Dodge. I'm going to pick up Dodge because kind of necessity. And then after that, I'm going to pick up Avoid. That way I can dodge and avoid shots. And just kind of make sure I'm elusive to that regard. But yeah, I've just had a busy day, all day today. It's been pretty much the word go ever since 10 in the morning. And if you can't tell, I'm just kind of just downright dog tired, you know? There's a few things that really got me today. Like, there was people talking about, people on Twitter, I should say, talking about things like clavicular. I don't know the dude. Right? I don't know him from a hole in the ground. I don't watch his content. I don't pay much attention, if any, to anything that goes on. But somebody was saying that he was bemoaning the fact that guys are lonely, right? And that they don't know how tough it is to be lonely like that. Look, I'll tell you something. As a stoic, when somebody is very stoic, philosophically minded, and they just kind of withdraw into their own kind of like mental space. Sorry about that. When they kind of just like withdraw into their own mental space, it's like it's not necessarily a bad thing. But those that have always been out there in the bright lights and constantly, you know, having to be on the go, on the move all the time, when they get stuck in their own mind space, they don't know what to do. They're lost. Because they're not used to it, right? And so they feel the crushing loneliness harder than a standard guy. Standard guy will just be like, yeah, you know, it sucks to be alone. And they'll just kind of be like, you know, oh well, it's just something I kind of have to deal with. Whereas the Stoic's like, oh, I'm alone? Okay. I guess that's Monday. You know, most philosophers and most introverts, for example, don't mind being alone. They're very stoic. I mean, introverts are very stoic people. Not always. I mean, it's not a guarantee that they're going to be stoic people, but an introvert will sit there and go, you know what? You know, they'd rather be alone. Is it a bad thing? No, sometimes. I mean, as an introvert, I can say that it is sometimes a bad thing. But on other times, it really allows you to get into a mental space where you can allow your thoughts to manifest into something philosophical, esoteric, and worthwhile. Which is kind of what my entire space here is about. I can't really call it a space, per se, a space. That's what my entire YouTube channel is about, is doing stuff that is playing games while having substantive conversations. Albeit with nobody, because it's not like there's a response live on screen. But it's a substantive conversation nonetheless, or at least I attempt to have that. And people are often quick to dismiss what they call the male loneliness epidemic. It's not really an epidemic. If you think about it, like, some people say it's a myth. It's not a myth. It really isn't, right? And other people say, well, you know, it's just the losers that are lonely. No. I can't even say that either. Because I've seen people out there that are relatively, you know, well-liked. They're popular. They're just not... They're not getting the right... They're not finding the right person to form that bond with. And there's a bigger problem at hand with this. And that problem is, to put it succinctly, people have started valuing pocketbooks over people. Pocketbooks over personality. Right? They've started valuing, you know, they've put monetary lists on things. And they've become hyper-selective, and everybody says, well, there you go. You know, there's a lot of people that say this. They say, well, being hyper-selective is not a bad thing. Okay, I'll grant you that. It's not. Innately, it's not a bad thing. But it's a horrendous thing. Because if you're hyper-selective for too long, what happens? You end up completely alone, and nobody wants to be around you.
Not enough money.
And people say, oh, they're too picky. I had somebody say that to me the other day. It's actually an acupuncturist. She looked at me and she goes, maybe your standards are too high. True story. She said, maybe my standards are too high. I said, you know what my standards are? And she was like, no, I don't know what your standards are. I told her. I said, my standards for meeting somebody to even contemplate putting them in my just friends group, right? For putting them in my friends group, they just must have an interest in me generally as a person. Just to be in my friends group, right? Be a person and be relatively interested in me as a person, and we could be friends. Relatively, right? Obviously, there's some wiggle room there because there are some people that are just relatively interested in me as a person, and then the moment they stab me in the back, I'm like, heh, I'm never doing that again. So anyhow. When it comes to dating, I said it's even simpler. I mean, it's like must be biologically female. That's it. That's my standard. Must be biologically female. And I would prefer it if they had an interest in me. Generally. I said you can always find one, but never both. Which is alluding to, you can always find that the fact that they're biologically female, but they're never interested. And she kind of looked at me and she goes, she just kind of sat there with a puzzled look on her face like, you know, how is that possible? And it's like, well, I wish you could live a day in my life. I wish you could walk a mile in my shoes. And of course, I get the, you know, the typical naysayers and other things like that that are like, oh, so is this an oh, woe is me pose? No, it's not. Not at all. Not at all. I have lived long enough to be perfectly happy in just in solitude, right? Because happiness comes from within. That's why. Happiness is not derived from somebody else. Happiness is not derived from events occurring, etc. and so on. Happiness is all starts from within and comes out. Everything. Every single bit of happiness. 100%. And so, to me, that's why I don't ever have a problem with, you know, being alone, right? And, you know, people are like, yeah, but you're eventually going to get to the point where you're lonely. Not really. Kind of goes away after 7 years. Like, when you're lonely long enough, when you're alone long enough, loneliness no longer becomes a thing. It's kind of... It's a facet of your everyday life that you just look at and say, okay. And that's it. And people don't like to believe that. And people like to believe in the fairy tale ending and the, you know, the white picket fence and the, you know, there's somebody for everybody jargon. Well, it's like, I don't want to be that guy, but there's not always somebody for everybody, right? I'm not a believer of that. I'm not a proponent of that. And people, reason being is, let's say the person for you is currently alive on the other side of the planet, right? Let's say it's someone my age. on the other side of the planet, waiting for me.
Good day.
But because a thing occurs, because an event occurs, let's say that person is the one for me, right? An event occurs, and then all of a sudden, they're snatched away, and they no longer are alive. They pass away from an unfortunate series of events. People would say, well, then that wasn't the person for you. Well, okay, let's go on it. Let's say it wasn't. But how can you be sure? So let's say it is. Alright, that was the one for you. Well, now they're gone. Which means there's not someone for everyone, is there? Now who do I get? Now who's the one for me? But is there a line? Is there more than one? If there's more than one person for each person, then why does they say there's someone out there for you? Shouldn't it be there's someone's or some people out there for you? It's almost like it's left analogous and weird at best. Of course, I'm probably reading too much into it.
My army will destroy you.
These are just some of the thoughts that, echo through my head at times. People would say, well, they're unhealthy because insert reason. And it's unhealthy to think that way because then you're never going to find anybody, etc. And it's like, well, let's be real here. My standpoints on a lot of things aren't widely popular. And factor in that I don't make, massive amounts of money, and of course with everybody being materialistic in today's world. And it's not just about financial security, so don't buy into that rhetoric either. People saying, oh yes, they just want to be financially secure. Yeah, just don't buy into that rhetoric, because that's garbage BS rhetoric. Okay?
Join my army of the dead.
It has nothing to do with financial security. It has everything to do, simply put, with greed.
Not enough mana. I need mana.
People are just greedy by nature. It comes as no surprise of people being greedy by nature, right? It's a natural thing in the human. It's a natural thing in any species to compete for resources, to compete for things. So from that understanding, it's a natural thing to compete as human beings.
Greetings.
Now, does that mean that I have to sit there and agree with it and like it? No. I don't. On either of them. But, considering the alternative, you can't really point at it and say, you know what, I don't agree with it, I'm just not going to settle for this, and then upend society. It doesn't work that way. When people stopped seeing the value in one another, they started seeing the value in what they could get from the individual. They stop seeing individuals. You know, you look at somebody and you hear things like, oh, so-and-so's a good provider. So-and-so's, you know, they make money or they have a great job. Okay. But that doesn't tell me about the person. That doesn't tell me about the individual. That doesn't tell me about their personality, their quirks. It tells me nothing. It just tells me they got fat stacks of cash. Good for him. Good for them. And it doesn't matter in, you know, in what capacity it's a them or what, it doesn't matter. Brilliant. When somebody says to me, who is, who's this person like? I tell them qualities about that person. Personality, viewpoints, what they do for I do tell them what they do for a career, because that's just something that some people might find interesting, right? But I don't make it the focal point. I don't say, oh, well, they're knocking down, 50, 60, 70,000. I don't do that. And I don't do that for a reason. The reason I don't do that is because that's the way the world's gone for the past 30, 40 years. And look at what it's turned the world into. I mean, it's not a good thing out there in the world. Not at all.
I'll put that to good
You
use.
have a bunch of people,
I'll put that to good use.
stepping over each other, and in some cases stepping on one another just to get ahead. Now, I don't like that. People would say, well, that phrase you just said was a communist. It was communism. Everybody banding together. No, not at all. I think if you have an idea and you post it on the free market and it sells well and you are beating out your competition, it's up to your competition to reevaluate, strategize, and then attempt to beat you at your game effectively. That's what it should be. That's not what we have. I'm just saying, you take a look at society, and you have people out there that are like being so particular about a potential partner, none of which has anything to do with personality or a strength of character. None of it. All has to do with, can they get me the money? Are they making enough Benjamins to afford my lifestyle? And there are men like this too. It's not all women that are doing it. There are men like this too. They're fewer in number. They're fewer in number because a guy will sit there and say, you know what? It may not be my wheelhouse. I may not be good at it. But I'm going to do it. Right? And that's how guys are. Take, for example, myself. And probably many of you. Is this, is being an entertaining figurehead my wheelhouse? No, probably not. I'm more insightful than I am anything else. Entertaining? Probably not. Pretty sure you could stare into a barrel of oatmeal and get more entertainment value out of it. But does it draw a crowd? Yeah, sometimes. Some people like it. And in that some people that like it is where strength of character is, right? Like, me going out and doing something out of character. I can't really say out of character, but going out and being like an entertainer or a content creator, right? Being a content creator is not something I would have thought of becoming way long ago. 10, 15 years ago, never would have crossed my mind. Even 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I wanted to create video games because I had great stories in my head and I thought, boy, those would be great as a video game. So I made one video game. It didn't sell very well. It sold well enough to to kind of cover the cost of the RPG Maker used to make it. Made a little bit more than how much I spent on the RPG Maker. So, turned a small profit. Not a lot. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the process of it. I enjoyed seeing the creation come to life. And it taught me a lot. It taught me that that may not be exactly what I wanted to do. But it may have been adjacent to the thing I wanted to do. I didn't think to myself that I wanted to be a YouTuber ages ago. I did live streaming as a stopgap to curb my boredom. That's how I started out. And I do this now because I have an idea. I had an idea that there's a group of people out there in the world that sometimes need a third party giving a different viewpoint. Sometimes a philosophical viewpoint, sometimes an insightful viewpoint, and sometimes just taking a look at something and saying, okay, I can see where there's a problem here, or I can see where a fallacy lies, and being able to point it out and kind of focus in on it. Not really being a nitpick, but focusing on it to such a degree that it might make people that also play this product or use this product or something look at it and say, you know what, they're right. That is an issue. And that's kind of why I started my whole YouTube thing. Is I wanted to be that voice of, not really voice of reason, but unlike other YouTubers. Know what I mean? A lot of other YouTubers go out there, they over edit, and they have mind-numbing levels of content that are all nonsensical dribble, right? I'm not gonna name names, but you'll see it everywhere. It'll be over-edited, they'll slam every other, like, meme sound effect that they can in it, and they'll produce, like, maybe 2 videos a month, a video every few days, maybe like potentially like 6 videos a month, maybe more, but never more than that. They're too busy editing all their stuff, and it's like, where I have a problem with it is there's not a cognizant thought in any of their content. It quite literally feels like that old... what's it here? Hold on, give me a second. Like the Looney Tunes, right? Where they're sitting there and they're dealing with somebody who's a little bit kooky. And they're sitting there going... Blah, blah, blah. That's what it feels like. That's what their content feels like. Because there's no meat to the potato. It's not posing a question that causes thought. It's not giving somebody an idea to allow their mind to expand and run with it and potentially become the next inventor. They can potentially become the next visionary. That's the stuff I want to do. That's the stuff that when I talk about something, I want people to go, you know what? I want to do that. I'm gonna clue you in. I'm gonna clue you in on a little hint. Loneliness helps with that. Back cycling, we're coming back around to the original topic. Loneliness helps with that insight. Loneliness helps you find that spot in your mind and say, here, I've thought of this creative idea. If it wasn't for loneliness, most people wouldn't have had a creative idea. It had just passed them by. Ooh, Hunter's Bow. I can tell you right now, like, from the perspective of existing in the world as a guy, a lot of people are like, okay, well, what does that mean? Oh. I'll tell you right now, for any ladies out there that are potentially listening, and if you've listened this far, I commend you. It's quite simple. Guys want to be treated as a person and not a corporate wage slave. They get enough corporate wage slave treatment at work, so when they come back from work, they don't want to be treated as a corporate wage slave again. They really don't. They want to feel like what they've contributed is worthwhile. If not to you, then to somebody. They want to be...
I'll put that to good use.
That's the word I'm looking for. They want to be...
I'll put that to good use.
I can't just say important, but... it is very similar. Cherished. In their own way. They want to feel like what they've done isn't just some, numbers on a spreadsheet tawdry thing. They want to be validated. That's the word I was looking for. They want to feel validated. Right? And if that just means having a smile on their face when they walk through the door, ladies, that's it. That's all you gotta do. Just not treat them as though they were slime after coming back from work. Don't rip into them. If they forget things, I'm gonna give you a bit of advice. If somebody forgets something and somebody says, "Oh, I forgot," instead of being upset, it's better to ask, "Okay," in a very calm tone. This works both ways, by the way. You just look them right square in the eyes and say, "Did you have a lot on your mind today?" And they go, "What do you mean?" You say, "Well, when people get a lot on their mind," because they'll say, "What do you mean?" A lot of people will say, "What do you mean?" Because they don't know if you're trying to belittle them. They don't know if you're trying to berate them for being a fool. None of them know that. So the best way to diffuse that situation is you look at them and say, a lot of people get a lot of stuff on their mind, and then they'll tend to blank on certain things that they kind of needed to remember. And then you just kind of say like things like, "I've done it. You know, everybody's done it. It exists. It's a thing." And it usually happens when people have a lot on their mind. And that's what people should be saying. They should say something along the lines of, "Did you have a lot on your mind?" The problem is people get into a knee-jerk response of immediately lashing out at the other person because how could you forget? How on earth could you forget? And then they put themselves on a pedestal like, "I'm so important." Now what you've done there is you've just said, "You're worthless. I'm worth it." You can't do that. Because if you do, you're just going to alienate that person, and they're going to walk away. And then you're going to say, "Oh, that's okay. I'll just show them what they're missing." You can't live your life like that. You can't live your life off vengeance and revenge. It does not serve. Doesn't. And I've had people tell me a lot of things. Because I told them, I said, "I want to get in shape. And I plan on it." Look, why do you want to get in shape? To see... And I will carry around a picture of me when I was fat. Just to see what they say. And I'm going to ask them, would you have still approached me if I looked like this? And if they say no, I would say, well, then we're done here. Because then it tells me they're shallow. It's not for revenge, and it's not for vengeance. It's a gauge to see if they are a shallow individual. That's really why I would do it. Like I said, though, I don't follow that methodology of trying to get vengeance on people. Especially not when they're in a relationship. Like, if they're in a relationship with somebody, like, if you're in a relationship with that person, never try to get the one-upsmanship on them. It does not bode well for you or anything that you do. It will only hurt you in the end. Guaranteed. I can give that the quiz rubber stamp of basically the quiz is, guarantee that you'll only end up hurting yourself in the end if you do that. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday and for the rest of your life. Name that movie. And I try to help. I try to be as helpful as possible. I used to counsel relationships in high school. They were classmates' relationships. And I'd be sitting there and they would come to me and they would use aliases. And I knew exactly who they were talking about. I wasn't that tense. But I used to counsel their relationships in high school. They wouldn't even go to the guidance counselor. I'm a classmate, they're coming to me. And I found it funny, and I even mentioned it to one of my classmates one time. I said, you know what I find absolutely hilarious? And they said, what's that? I said, y'all come to me for relationship advice. And I'm the only person in our class that has not had a date the entire time I'm in school. And I didn't. My class was like 32 students in graduation. That's how big my class was. Was 32 students, give or take. 7 of which were girls. So, you know, you had 25 guys, 7 girls. And the class above us had about 5 girls in their class and about 20 guys. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't a good disparity at all. And so there ended up being, you know, it was just one of those things. You ended up going stag to prom generally. But they always kept coming to me. I never had a date throughout all of high school. Because I was the quintessential, you know, fat nerdy kid. And nobody wanted to be with the fat nerdy kid. So. At any rate, I'm just about done with this video. I just want people to realize that there's more to life than money. There's a lot more out there. Eventually, you'll come to the realization where your definition of worth and value will need to be reassessed. And when it does, I hope it's not too late and it reassesses to where you're making wise decisions. At any rate, I hope everybody enjoyed this video. I'm going to continue to do this on Players 8 because I think it's great to have that challenge. I'm already level 12. We'll see how it turns out. I'll see if I can actually make it through normal. But I hope everybody has a fantastic evening, a wonderful tomorrow, and as always, have a good one.